The sky so far, but I can't lose it.
Sim racers from around the globe, honoring a revolutionary era of open-wheel racing. With a beast not easily tamed, roaring around legendary circuits at breakneck speed. When engineers and drivers push boundaries, sometimes too far. When heroes muscled roaring beasts wheel to wheel around the hallowed ground. A time when the only driver aids were his 2 feet, the perfect combination of man, machine, and speed. Experience the competition and the glory of early 80s IndyCar action. The Lionheart Retro Series presented by Next Level Racing starts now. Halfway through the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series, the drivers know it's time to kick it into the next gear. Just 2 drivers have been able to taste the joy of victory twice, but with 6 winners in 9 races, to call 2022 wild feels an understatement. The series heads now to the fastest short track on the planet, a track that can bring even the most experienced to their knees. Welcome back to the Lionheart doubleheader in Iowa. Welcome to the HyperX Iowa 150. Hello everyone and welcome back to racespottv and coverage of the 2022 Lionheart Racing Series. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to be joined once more not by Ewan O'Leary, but instead by the returning DJ Clark. And let's dive straight into our next level racing pre-race show. Yesterday, the IndyCar Series came to Iowa for a 200-mile race. There was a big one. There was some egos that were bruised. Today, the Retro Series steps back into Iowa for 150 miles. And DJ, you know just how cruel and how difficult this race will be.
Yes, indeed I do, Arjuna. This is one of the trickiest short tracks you will race anywhere in the world because it doesn't drive like a short track. You've just got to have a little bit of lift coming into the corners in these Lotus 79s and finding that perfect point of liftoff and then the ability to be able to get back on the throttle coming out of it, trying to get a run around here. It's one of the hardest things you will do anywhere.
Kicking off the second half of the season. Still a couple new venues to go to, Motegi, the Grand Prix layout, as well as a trip to the circuit, Gilles Villeneuve. 4 races left to go in the season, but it is a lot of familiar names up in front of the drivers in the midst of 3 back-to-back races in this Lionheart Retro Series. Let's talk to you then about your next level racing driver standings. After the double point swing at Indy, Mike Razmas took the point. David Siwa clawed back in 5 points last time by, but Michael O'Brien, finally a winner in the Lionheart Retro Series, jumps in front of his teammate for the MadWorks Motorsports team. The reality is, any of the top 4 have shown the speed to run away with the championship. The reality is now, it all comes down to performances starting tonight.
Yes, indeed it does. And don't sleep there on the driver in 5th place here tonight, the defending race champion, David Rodriguez. We're still investigating that fuel tank to see how he made it to the end on that lap of fuel. He could be a real factor here tonight, especially considering he's leading practice as they run.
We have a big rookie class, but David Rodriguez is the only one of the rookies to stand inside of the top 10. Let's look at your buttkicker rookie standings. There's almost more than 100 points that David Rodriguez leads from Rodrigo Munoz, who's jumped to 2nd in front of Jim Herrick, who has slid all the way down to 7th, the winner of our first Triple Crown race at Pocono. Plenty of strong names, with 2nd separated from 8th position by only about 43 points. We'll track the progress of these rookies. Of course, David Rodriguez, partial campaign in 2021, full campaign in 2022. Let's talk to you though about the HyperX team standings for the first 7 races. It was all about MadWorks Motorsports. Yes, Graphics LC took 1, 2, 3 at the season opener, but it was consistency that let them run away. But double point swung it back in the direction of Graphics LC. The 1 and 2 for MadWorks Motorsports sees them reach the front once more in your HyperX team standings.
Yeah, good one there for MadWorks. They have been challenging the entire series, and we're definitely starting to see a little bit of a breakaway there for Graphics LC and MadWorks. But Raven Lavoie Motorsports certainly in the picture here as well, only about 100 points back, and we have seen from those drivers that they've got the speed to be able to get themselves back up into the mix.
And that, of course, led by David Siwa, is a climb that we are not entirely shocked to be talking about. Let's talk then about your series details presented by Gomez Sim Industries. It's the 6th year of the Lionheart Retro Series, in year 9 of the Lionheart Racing Series. We're campaigning around the world in the beast of a Lotus 79, built to challenge Grand Prix layouts around the world. We've taken it to some of the finest ovals America has to offer. It always puts on a show. Custom fixed setups built by RaceSpot's own Andrew Kinsella will mean that drivers are required to be changing tires over the course of these races, even with bias ply tires designed to go full race distances. They're fighting for their share of $7,000 in cash and prizes, and your series champion will walk away with the Next Level Racing GT Track cockpit, as well as a Moser Racing direct drive wheelbase and Formula steering rim. 2 Triple Crowns done, 1 still left to go as they fight to become our new series champion, as Aaron Morgan will step aside, and the defending team champions well and truly split themselves up, but Madworks Motorsports looking to become a lineal back-to-back winners. Let's talk about our Moser Racing event details as we head to the fastest short track on the planet for the 6th time, a staple on the schedule, but one where qualifying well is by no means a guarantee of success. Pole position never converting to HyperX victory lane, and by the same token, leading laps is also no guarantee of victory. Fuel strategy can play vital with 5 races bleeding out into 5 different winners. It's a race where it's difficult to pass, and DJ, you ran in the foot track of David Rodriguez into the closing stages of last year's race. What do drivers need to do if it becomes a fuel mileage game once more?
Well, what it really is all about in terms of trying to save that fuel is finding that lift-off point and being able to coast enough through the mid part of the corner and then getting onto the throttle at just the right time to not let it slip away. I had that problem last year following behind David Rodriguez, as well as my teammate at the time, Paul Jenkins, trying to be able to gain a little bit of that fuel. And what David was really able to do is trust the draft. Let that pull you around this short track more and more, and that is the way to get things done.
It's an ominous sign that David Rodriguez tops the practice times right now with a 21.75 the benchmark. It's a butt kicker by RSR 1-2 with Valiokas the 23 that we expected to be quick on the road courses, finding some speed on these short tracks as well. The transition from road course racer to oval specialist is a difficult one. There are some ovals that are easier than others. Indianapolis, for one example, drives very much like a road course. Iowa is not that same sort of an oval, but we saw it this past weekend, DJ, with drivers in the real world getting their first stab at the fastest short track on the planet. It is one where the best will rise to the top.
Yeah, it really and truly is, because the way to be fast around here, Arjuna, is to take the narrowest of margins. You can see drivers right now working their way up to that high line, almost brushing into the wall, and because of the narrow confines around here, that's how you've got to be able to find speed, and specifically to be able to get that third lane to work up on the high side. I've seen it happen more than once. If you're up on that high side, you can carry momentum around, but you have got to feel the car and feel the track to be able to do it and have the utmost confidence in your machinery.
So 30 cars provisionally getting ready for qualifying with just over 60 seconds left in this practice session. I'll ask you, DJ, do you want to be up front? Do you want to be at the back and trying to mind your business? Because I looked at yesterday's incident. I was obviously on another event. Very disappointing to be missing a couple of weeks in the Lionheart IndyCar Series, but a monumental shunt on the back straightaway as a couple of cars got tangled up and the oncoming rush of cars unable to get past without causing a traffic jam. Double-digit cars involved in the wreck. How do you navigate this track? How do you stay out of trouble?
Well, the biggest thing you want to do is, if you're worried about running into any of those problems, you want to be running a little bit on the lower line here. That's going to give you more options as where to go, and you've got to bleed off more speed as you go down on the low line. So you're going to have a little bit more control of the car to be able to get it. But in terms of running up front or wanting to be in the back, Arjuna, I really think you want to be in the top 3 here today, specifically in second or third. You're going to be able to save fuel from that situation, and if this develops into a fuel-saving race, that's going to be absolutely crucial. But you want as minimal aero wash as you can around here. It is very, very deadly with just how quick these corners come at you. You can slide up the wall, and even just the briefest tag to that outside safer barrier is going to be enough to cause you real consternation.
The sun continues to set as we get into the pressure cooker of a qualifying session. We'll be racing into the night. Will drivers wait and take advantage of cooling track conditions to go fast in qualifying? Will they elect to go as soon as they are able to? Lots of questions that are about to be answered. DJ wants to be up front. It means being fast in qualifying. If the tires are burning up as much as we're hearing they are, sometimes we expect that lap 2 in the oval qualifying sessions will be faster. I don't think that's a guarantee, DJ.
I don't think it is either. We heard directly from Andrew Kinsella saying that you have got to take specifically a right front tire on every pit stop. Otherwise, this setup is not going to be suited to you at all. So I really think this first lap is going to be the money lap here. The car should be up to speed by the time you round out of turn 4, and you do not want to run the risk of setting a banker here early. You want to be going quick right from the downbeat.
So 4 minutes left to go. And they're quick lap times, so by no means are we expecting last-second changes to the order. Razmas, a 25.62, the current benchmark, but we wait to see if we wind ourselves up further and further, at least trending in the direction that Razmas will improve as he ducks down low and finds 0.3 of a second. Taylor with a 21.78 will beat out Razmas for provisional pole, but the signs are there. Lap 2, the quick lap.
Yes, they are. Tyler Groff now able to get his way up to the top of the charts with a 21.77, showed as absolutely equal there with Matt Taylor. But the one thing I will say is that we've seen track temperatures cool down by about 1 degree Fahrenheit since the drop of the green flag here, and that could help those who waited a little bit.
Valiokas to the line fast in practice. In qualifying, last of those with a lap time on the board. He's got a lot of work to do at a place where dirty air is so important. That is definitely not what he would have wanted to see. David Sirra, the 99, 7th for now. Not trending well as he peels down the back straightaway to practice a pit entry. That's qualifying done for the Canadian driver. It's Ricky Hardin that will come to the line to complete his second and final qualifying attempt as the lap times continue to stack up. Hardin will jump up into the top 5, but we wait to find where the defending race winner will emerge. David Rodriguez building up in qualifying.
Yes, he is going to try here. It looks like on a little bit of a higher lane. That's going to tell me that he is running here, trying to see if he's able to gather speed, gather momentum, and he certainly looked like he was going for a little bit of a bank lap on that out lap there. Now dives down to the inside, taking the optimal line for qualifying.
It was a 26.35, the benchmark 21.77. He's got a lot of time to find, but as Rodriguez comes to the line, a track we expect him to be fast at in qualifying, it's not good enough for pole. It's good enough to jump inside of the top 10. 24 lap times on the board. A couple of drivers emerging onto track. Paul Jenkins will jump to the tail end of the field. Luis Gonzalez Nunez across the line as well.
Yes, he will, and it looks like a lot of these drivers have had the same thought here, running on the high line for the first lap, getting as much momentum, as much speed as possible, and then diving down to that lower line. Jenkins is going to cross over the line here. Let's see if he's able to improve. Only good enough for 14th fastest.
Luis Gonzalez Nunez, 21.730. That's a 1.5 seconds off the benchmark for the time being. Got a lot of ground to find, and again for pole position, the margins are tight. 1,000 splits first and second, 12,000 splits first from third. Tyler Groff on course to grab pole position. Luis Gonzalez Nunez to the top 5.
Oh, that's a great lap there for Luis. Really able to put that car exactly where he needed to do. I got a little bit concerned at the aggressive turn down angle there coming out of turn 4. Really trying to drive that car downhill, but clearly it worked there for Gonzalez Nunez.
Here comes Jim Herrick, has slid from 2nd to 7th in your buttkicker rookie standings, but your double points winner at Pocono might look for some speed here today. His teammate is up there inside of the top 10. For Jim Herrick, a 28.92 on lap number 1 will have enough time to complete a second of the lap times. And again, we talk about close margins. A 10th splits 12 cars. As it stands right now, the 40, the final car to put a lap time on the board. A 21.77 to beat. It's a 24.25. Herrick will be lining up back in 25th.
It's going to be a little bit of a hard run there for Jim, but not impossible. As you said, we saw a big incident occur in the middle of the pack here in yesterday's IndyCar race. If something like that happens and Jim plays his cards right, he could find himself farther up by the time the checkered flag flies.
And that was your Next Level Racing pre-race show, but with qualifying in the books, Go Fast time has come to the end. It's time to go racing for the HyperX Iowa 150. Let's not dally around too long. Let's go down to the starting grid here today. It is career pole number 1 for Tyler Graf, who puts the 98 at the front of the field. He'll lead us to the green alongside Matt Taylor and the MadWorks Motorsports number 8. Chris Lanini and race-winning Michael O'Brien will share row 2, while Luis Gonzalez Nunez and Mike Rasmas line up 5th and 6th positions. Rolling from 7th will be the white and turquoise of Mark Cohn's 39, Craig Forsyth on his outside, Ricky Harden, Gabe Wood complete the top 10. David Rodriguez, the defending race winner, has some work to do from 11th. He'll roll alongside with Alex Guyon, behind them David Sirra and Rodrigo Munoz. From 15th, we see Paul Jenkins in the 35, Richie Hearn in the 70 alongside with him as teammates battle from row number 8. Luke Daniels, who's got lots of support here today, rolls from 17th, Chris Fowler to his outside. Mike Grigney and Trevor Malone complete the top 20 with Cody Wenzen and Robert Mikes behind them. Cristobal Valenzuela 2/10 off the pace with Chris Staples in 24th. 25th sees Jim Herrick and Hugo Gallus getting ready to rumble. Valiokas second in practice, but 27th in qualifying. The final car with a lap time on the board, Jake Wright, Danny Roberts, Brett Accord make up the rest of the top 30 as we get ready to push off here at Iowa. The field will streak down pit lane. Fortunately, a couple of pace laps to get their temperature into the tires, to build up the nerves of steel that they will need to survive the roller coaster that is any race here at this track. As always, featured onboard cameras to walk you down through. Let's start with Paul Jenkins and the Gomez Sim Industry onboard camera. Makers of high-end esports equipment and controls, visit gomezsimindustries.com.
Next up in the Next Level Racing onboard camera, it is Mike Rigney. Take your racing to the next level. Visit nextlevelracing.com.
And David Siwa, 13th on track, will carry the HyperX on board. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game. It's going to be a tough one here today for the drivers to survive and hold on to their machines. Getting to the end will be task number 1. 172 laps of racing, 60 laps our estimated fuel window. Already the math stands out to you there. DJ, we aren't too far away from a fuel save race.
No, we certainly aren't, and with that fuel-saving race in mind, I've got to tip my hat here to little bit to the 11th place driver of David Rodriguez. He is a master on fuel-saving. Watch out for that number 10 car starting in the mid-pack.
I think you've got to make sure you count Michael O'Brien. He's won now on a road course. Can he do it on the oval? Of course, haven't seen too many of the short tracks this season. We'll head to the Worldwide Technology Raceway at the very end of October, New Hampshire round 2. The last time he went true short course racing, but this is Lionheart. Competition, commitment, excitement. We're ready to rumble. We're ready to get underway with the second half of your 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. The Gladiators are stacked up for 150 miles in the cornfields of Iowa. We're underway with the HyperX Iowa 150. A good start from Tyler Graf, Chris Lanini, a bit of a bobble. We'll see Luis Gonzalez Nunez try and sweep around the outside, but all 30 cars get underway nice and tidily. Tyler Graf leads lap number 1.
Yeah, he got a brilliant getaway there. Looks like he caught Matt Taylor just napping a little bit, but one of the things I'm noticing here early on, Arjuna, is that high lane off of the start looks very, very strong, and in fact, catching out a lot of drivers who are stuck down in the low lane. They look like they are exceptionally slow.
The sun is up, it will continue to set, we will race into the night lights. Caution flies for the first time today. It only took 2 laps, a car has gone up and over. I believe that is Hugo Gallus, Chris Staples, Cody Wenzen, Danny Roberts, Cristobal Valenzuela. 5 or 6 cars mixed up as a big one gets us underway here today.
Yes, it does, and we talked about just how difficult it is when you're traveling at these speeds. It's very, very easy to make a little bit of a bobble here. I couldn't tell there if that was a little bit of how you doing, but certainly a domino effect of an incident sending multiple cars around.
Yeah, that's the aftermath of the incident. The initial part does involve Chris Staples, who looks down low and just overcommits to the 63 of Cody Wenzen, who pays the price. The one going up and over, well, that's a hellacious little lick, I tell you, for Hugo Gallas in the Backfire Motorsports, number 84. Let's look from up above, and let's try and break this one down a little bit more. You'll just see the look down low, the commitment, the move was never on.
No, and I think there, if Roberts really wanted to get that move a little bit better, he should have really gone low there to absolutely send the car into the corner and try to get a little bit closer down to the apron and send what we would kind of consider to be a slide job there. But instead, he commits to a little bit of a higher apex on the track, and as a result, he washes up very early.
So Danny actually was involved in a second little bit of contact. Let's ride with him, and you'll see the incident in front. He tries to dive down low. I don't want to blame him necessarily because he saw clean air and he tried to go for it, but going through a wreck and not slowing down maybe sufficiently caused the chain reaction that took out a couple of other cars. So caution flies early, interrupts the tempo of the race, and immediately what do we start thinking about? Fuel saving.
Very much so, and one of the strategies that you can employ here is to run the cars in a little bit of a higher gear. Now, that's not going to save you a whole lot of fuel, but it could be the difference that you need to be able to make it to the end and to not. Also, if I were sitting back in some of the farther back positions at this point, if I was Valiokas, Accord, Wright, Robert Mikes, any of those guys, I would think about actually coming in right now, and even though we've only been on track for a couple of laps here, just getting a top off of fuel to be able to run maybe a lap or two longer into the stint.
Only cars involved in the wreck so far have come down onto pit road. See if that changes this time by as the lights stay on the pace car. We have at least one more lap under pacing here at the fastest short track at on the planet, which feels decidedly more pedestrian when you have that pace car at the front of the field, halting the momentum down under 80 kilometers an hour. We mentioned that we're racing into the night lights. We didn't really talk about the weather conditions. It's cool. Despite that, the load on the tires is why we are talking about requiring a tire change every single pit stop cycle. As the lights come off on the pace car, we're racing next time by.
Yes, we will, and it's going to be interesting to see here if Matt Taylor maybe tries to hug up a little bit closer behind Tyler Groff. Remember, Tyler able to get a great getaway going off of that initial start, and Taylor was on the back foot there a little bit, and so you're going to see a little bit of chest there, I think, shaking out between those top two. These
restarts are going to be important with the amount of wake that these cars throw out and the impact of dirty air in the battle for the lead. These restarts an opportunity to catch your rivals napping and spring a surprise when the surprises aren't being expected. 6 laps will be in the books as the first caution will peel off in this race. We expect cautions at races like this. Hopefully not too many. Tyler Groff down low gets us underway. An interesting strategy on the restart, but it's helped Tyler Groff. If anything, shorter distance at slower speeds, work to treat. The 98 leads nice and comfortably to the back straight.
Yes, he does, and it's looking very, very strong there. But again, we're seeing the momentum not favoring the low line here early on. We watched Luis Gonzalez-Nunez losing out there to Michael O'Brien. O'Brien riding high, carrying momentum through the corner, and that helps keep his top speed up around the outside.
You say it doesn't work, but I think Mark Cohn just threw a move down low on Chris Lanini in the 92, the 39 working forward. It's all about the give and take, I guess, and how hard you want to fight in these early stages. We want a nice long green flag run as Richie Hurt and Alex Guyon fight as well. Gabe Wood and Ricky Hardin sort themselves out on the entry to turn 1. Don't want to squabble for too much longer. And a track as short as this, of course, lap traffic will be a factor as Tyler Groff builds up a 0.7 of a second advantage at the front of the field. Of course, our mind starts to think about traffic. 9 seconds splits the front and the rear of the pack.
Yes, it does. And when traffic comes along, it's going to be very interesting to see how that affects these lead drivers. Tyler here in particular, used to running in clean air. He's going to have to change his approach there a little bit as he works his way around when he gets some of that buffeting. And even if we've got some very courteous drivers there, you're still going to get affected by that aero wash.
Right on board with the 39 of Mark Cohn, winner of 2 Triple Crown races in 2021. Got closer to that sweep of the Triple Crown races than I think many thought was possible. Unable to race at the season finale, unable to try and convert into the Triple Crown throne. Matt Taylor, now a full second almost back from Tyler Graff at the front of the field. It is a MadWorks Motorsports 2 and 3, building off the 1 and 2 that they had just a week ago. Things continue to look up after the downturn, momentary downturn that they had at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Michael O'Brien does seem to be struggling. He's fallen 7/10 off the back of his teammate. Luis Gonzalez Nunez is having one of the better starts to a race that he's had in a long time. He looks down low trying to fight for third.
Yeah, and there you see a little bit of that comeback. Now, if I was sitting in Luis's shoes there, I would have tucked up behind in that draft a little bit earlier. Now, interesting, you see O'Brien not really liking that high side as much. He's going to go down low. Gonzalez Nunez changing his strategy there on the fly, driving where O'Brien isn't, trying to keep as much clean air on the front of that wing as possible going through the turns.
See how the lines migrate as we work through the race, because how it starts will not be how it finishes. Of course, the track temperatures are going to change as the sun continues to drop, but track evolution will play its part as well as rubber continues to be thrown down onto the track surface. 15 laps now in the books. Our best lap time of the race so far at 25.83. It's not a shock to hear that it was the man out front that used the clean air to punch in that benchmark. Tyler Graff now a 1.2 second advantage, well and truly in control of the field. 30 took to the green flag. 4 are confirmed as out of this race. Jim Herrick, Cristobal Valenzuela, Chris Staples, and Hugo Gallus have pulled into the garage. Cody Wenzen is still trying to go, albeit he's having to come back down onto pit road now. Already 1 lap down. It'll be a difficult day for him. And as with all short tracks, DJ, sorry to cut you off, I just realized that when you come to pit lane under green here, you throw yourself into the danger zone.
Oh, you very much do. You're going 2, maybe even 3 laps down here if you decide to come down pit lane. And so I think you really have to try to maximize. What?
How does that even work? Rodrigo Munoz has embedded himself in the catch fencing, and the machine that has crashed on its side has also crashed as Chris Fowler's MadWorks Motorsports number 20 comes to a stop in pit lane as well. One of the more bizarre post-crash scenes that I think either DJ or myself has ever seen. I still don't know how you get involved there. They crashed on the start-finish straight.
They did indeed. I wonder if that was a little bit of miscommunication there between the two. Let's watch and see here, as that is going to be them coming down, and I wonder here if there's a little bit of a
Fowler comes up a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He really kind of does there, Arjuna.
It's so slight, and you know that he doesn't mean for anything intentionally bad to come out of that one, but look from up above. You'll just see Chris Fowler. His car's on the middle of that seam for a moment, then it goes upright. Rodrigo Munoz, unaware of what's going on, he's the one that gets sent straight, and not just into the catch fencing, but into the barrier itself as well, while Fowler goes up and over. Not the first time that we've seen a car in strife today. At the front, some drama. Matt Taylor from second will peel down onto pit road. The majority of the field electing to stay out. Matt Taylor thinking about the strategy gamble.
That's a bit of a gutsy call here from Matt, sacrificing that good amount of clean air that he has to come down pit lane, get more than likely some fresh rubber, specifically on that right front, as well as a top off of fuel. Now, I'm going to have to do some of the math here to see where that's going to shake him out in terms of strategy, but I think that may be an interesting call. He may be able to minimize here where other drivers are going to have to make a splash and dash at the end if we keep going on the cycle we are.
Not even 20 laps in, already 2 cautions. The other thing we have to remember, DJ, is that you can do all of that planning, you can do all the mathematics to figure out this prime strategy, but if a caution flies at the wrong time, that strategy goes straight out the door. A couple more cars down to pit road, this time by Valiokas, Accord, Wenzen all coming in. Of course, Wenzen trying to get some damage replaced on his car. Mike Rigney also came down to pit road this time, last time by, with Matt Taylor. So there are a couple of cars thinking about the strategy.
Yeah, Craig Forsyth as well, another one of those drivers that came down pit lane, and he is going to be actually the leader of all of those that have pitted. I'm not entirely sure there what happened to Matt Taylor, why he was a little bit slower than Craig and Mike Rigney, but that's going to see him back down in 21st here.
It's true on pit lane, it's true on track as well. No in-car tools, no in-car assists, there's no limiter, there's no anti-roll bars or weight jackers for drivers to be playing around with and using to bring themselves back into control. Down to the two hands and to the 2 feet. So I confuse myself. It's Michael O'Brien's car that says crash on it. It's Chris Fowler's car that says cursed on the side of it. And you know what? After some of the luck that he's had these last couple of years, at least since Lionheart has been here on racespottv, I very much appreciate why he's got the cursed on the side of the car.
As do I. Sometimes, Arjuna, when you're running in that position, you can have as good of a day as possible, and it is just down to bad luck that catches you out, and that's certainly something that we have seen there, in particular from Taylor.
Cautions breed cautions. Well, I said that a strategy play might be ruined by a caution, but at the same time, these short runs interrupted by the slower pace conditions of yellow flag running sometimes make it difficult for drivers to stay in the rhythm. From your experience last year, DJ, in these cars, how difficult was it to stay focused, stay dialed into the task, even when things get a little bit rough? Thinking of a certain Motegi race last year.
Well, you know, it is really, really difficult. And Motegi and Iowa, they kind of share a little bit of similarity in the way that you have to drive them, specifically going down into 3 and 4 at Motegi. You're looking at a little bit of a lift, a little bit of a tap of the brake going down there. So it's much like the way that you've got to go into the corners here in Iowa. And when you get those yellows that come out, it throws off that natural groove. And it'll take you a couple of laps to be able to get back into that rhythm again. But some of the absolute best drivers and the ones that you're going to see at the front, they are able to get right into it from the downbeat, and they will lose almost no time.
Yeah, my experience from 2020 and the half season that I ran was I was not very good if we had a couple of cautions. Not only was I then fixated on strategy and the mistakes that I knew I was making, but I tend to get a little bit wound up. Again, Tyler Graf down low as we get back underway. Long caution periods will make it difficult, but Tyler Graf seems to have figured out what he wants to do on the restart. He gets us back underway. Michael O'Brien now up into second with Luis Gonzalez Nunez inside of the podium positions. Razmas and Cohn bring up the rest of the top 5. They fought side by side coming in towards turn 1 and 2. Ricky Hardin now looks though to fight with Chris Lanini.
Oh, and he's going to carry that momentum there around the outside. A brilliant move. You saw Lanini try to be able to move up the track and cut off that momentum, but Hardin having absolutely none of it.
They got to be careful that they don't fight too hard and let those in front break away as we look rearwards from the number 7. Rodriguez, the high line. Lanini down low, and the RSR by buttkicker car powers its way forward into 7th spot. Richie Hearn has been quietly working his way into the top 10 as well, plus 7 into 9th, while Jake Wright, after an end-of-line penalty from 28th to 14th, it's a long way to go in this race, yet to come down on towards pit road. Mark Cohn will look down low on Mike Razmas, not able to get it done just yet.
No, not yet here, but Mark's going to try to continue that line all the way around. The one thing he's got to worry about is he doesn't want to be running too low, too aggressively, too often, or he's going to cause even more wear to that right front tire, and that's certainly going to be a detriment later on in the stint.
Still not being allowed to slide on through as Graf will go faster still. A 414, excuse me. Now a full 1 second clear as Cohn will slide up in front of Razmas. O'Brien still feeling that pressure from Luis Gonzalez Nunez, hunting for second, and the 14 has found his way on through. Luis Gonzalez Nunez next target, Tyler Graf in the race lead.
Well, he is going to have it all to do here. We haven't seen a single driver really be able to take the fight to Tyler here thus far in the course of the race. And Gonzalez Nunez, I've got to say, I'm very impressed with him here today. Not only are we seeing good high percentage moves being thrown by the number 14, but he just looks devilishly quick.
You said it, it's the high percentage moves that are the important ones. He's been trying, but he's not throwing everything at the wall. He's trying, and when something knocks at the door and opens it, he'll go for it, and now able to start pulling away as O'Brien defends from Cone and Razmas behind. The question of lap traffic will be thrown in the air once more. 23 cars left in the leading lap. Brett Accord in the divided by zero, number 51, is 9.5 seconds adrift from your race leader, so already half a lap down. Not long, potentially, from seeing that car becoming the first. The leader has got to work his way through. Richie Hearn again looks down low on Chris Lanini. I'm enjoying that even though these cars are hypothetically almost halfway through a run, they're committed, they're still trying. Cone looking low for third.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive stuff there that you're able to see them really lean on the cars, and the big disparity in lines there. We're not seeing anybody necessarily try a middle line here, and of course, as soon as I say that, there we see we saw Lanini getting up onto a little bit of one there, but it looks like the way to go is the high lane or the super low lane. It's one of the two. We're not seeing a lot of movement there. That was a little bit sketchy.
Cone thought he had been able to execute. O'Brien with the switcheroo, ducks back low once more, but through turn one, O'Brien unable to clear. Cone with the outside now, with the purchase it affords you. Almost contact between the two of them. They fight for third. Nunez has sailed on through. Cone unable to get it done. O'Brien hanging on with all he's got.
Yeah, O'Brien does not want to give this position away at all, and I've got to say here, with the aggression we've seen early from Mark Cone, it may not be the worst idea in the world for Michael O'Brien to back off a little bit. The only problem with that strategy is that he could allow himself to be a little bit freight trained by Rasmus Harden and Rodriguez behind him, and I think that's why we're seeing him fight so hard.
They are throwing slider after slider. It's Cone low again, and this time he commits to the slide job. O'Brien unable to get it done. Cone defends down low on the run through the back straightaway. This time it's finally signed, sealed, and delivered. Mark Cone back into the podium places. O'Brien down to fourth.
All right, and now it's going to be interesting to see what O'Brien decides to do. He's going to bring that car up onto the high line, trying to take advantage of some of the clean air that runs around that. But Mike Rasmus behind him, I think, looking very, very eager. He is quick, and he is able to follow directly in the tire tracks of O'Brien.
Remember, fuel window about 60 laps, and we know that tires are going to be struggling once we get to the end of the stint. Mark Cone faster still than Tyler Graf with a 23.33. A full tenth of a second quicker than your race leader. Don't count out Cone from working his way forward. It's going to take a lot of work, though, for him to overcome the challenge that dirty air will provide. A pit stop window will open in 20 or so laps for those that did not dive down onto pit road. That means the top 15 will throw themselves into a difficult situation. But it should be noted, DJ, that the first car to a pit is almost a full 10 seconds adrift from your race leader.
Yes, he is, and that's some of the gamble that you throw here by pitting in a little bit earlier, pitting off sequences. You do not want to become a lap down around here. Very, very hard to be able to fight back to get that. And you can see this little battle starting to shape up with those drivers that pitted. Because remember, you take on a little bit more fuel, that is going to weigh the car down, and these cars are very, very sensitive to heavy fuel loads.
So Gabe Wood, the first of those cars. There you see him across the line already. The leaders in towards turn 3 as Cody Wenzen still trundling around trying to get the car back into racing condition. But I think that's going to be a task that even the best of the mechanics that we have here in iRacing are going to be unable to get done. Tyler Graf is losing ground. A rocket of a short run car. The long run pace, not where it needs to be. Luis Gonzalez Nunez, once 2 seconds back, is now only 8 tenths behind and closing all the while.
Yes, he is, and again, very impressed here by Luis, and he's been able to open up about a 1 second advantage between himself and Mark Cone, so he has got just the outright speed to be able to chase down the leader and pull away from those behind him.
It has gotten single file now as well, throughout the field. It's not just isolated at the front. There aren't too many moves going on. Settle into the rhythm. These laps will tick on by. Short track racing is unlike anything. It was fascinating hearing from some of those real-world drivers this past weekend who got their first taste of Iowa. The likes of Romain Grosjean, Callum Ilott, even Christian Lundgaard. It sounded like pod racing in Star Wars. pretty apt analogy, especially when you throw in the lap traffic.
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, you are constantly working the car around here. This back straightaway that you're on, it is barely enough time to get maybe 2 or 3 breaths in. By the time you work your way down into 3, there is absolutely no respite for any of these drivers out on track.
Facility that's only, 17 years old, 15 years old if you think factor in when it was actually opened rather than when they started building it, but it's about 30 miles east of Des Moines. It hosted our members of the Lionheart Racing Series this past weekend as they finally got to do what they've been waiting to do for a couple of years. A tradition that the community had was a meetup at the Iowa Speedway during the race weekend for the NTT IndyCar Series. They were able to do it for a doubleheader of racing. Some nice moments and memories for drivers that have, for a couple of years, been relying on sim racing to meet up every couple of weeks, able to do it in person once more. I saw a request for a Luke Daniels update, and I regret to inform you that Luke Daniels, yes, he's up 4 positions into 13th, but he's in a difficult spot. We'll put it that way, DJ. Hasn't come down pit road, only 2 cars behind him on the same strategy.
Yeah, and that is a difficult spot to be in for sure. Definitely farther back in the pack. But as we've seen, there's plenty of time left to play out in this race. Luke might be doing just a little bit of fuel saving here, adjusting his strategy a little bit on the fly, as will be some of those drivers around him, particularly Paul Jenkins, maybe one to watch out for that's trying to adjust it. But we do have a little bit of side-by-side here pretty close by him.
It's for 21st position, and if I'm Matt Taylor, not only am I concerned that my strategy call to pit has thrown me in with the tail end of the field, behind him come the race leaders. There's only about 3 seconds of separation between Taylor and going 1 lap down. Yes, he'll get the laps back as we cycle through the pit stops that will open up, the pit stop window opening up in 15 laps time or so, but it's not where Matt Taylor will want to be, we'll put it that way.
No, it really, really is not. What he has got to hope for here at this point, and what he is banking on, is a yellow to come out between the time that he stays out and the leaders come on down pit lane. Other than that, if he goes a lap down here, that could certainly see his standing fall well down through the field, and that could be a death knell here to the driver.
So will it be a hero or zero strategy call? We'll wait and see for the MadWorks Motorsports. Number 8, under half a second for the race lead. Luis Gonzalez Nunez is a man that is determined not to be stopped here today. It's just his 9th appearance in this Lionheart Retro Series, but we did see him compete in Speedway and IndyCar Series competition last year. We know he can be aggressive, he's been calculated so far, and the long run speed is one to behold. As they emerge into the thick of lap traffic, will the maturity bear through here? Nunez closing bit by bit.
Very, very close behind, and you notice they're picking the lane on where he wanted to go. If he wanted to follow Tyler all the way through the corner, or if he wanted to keep up a little bit closer behind some of that lap traffic. Nice to notice they're coming off of the corner. Look how he's diving down to the inside. Not really going for a pass there, but what he's doing is trying to get as much clean air onto the front of that wing as possible, and boxes in Tyler Graff. Nunez to the lead.
That is a high IQ move. The lap traffic will be Luis Gonzalez Nunez's best friend. He takes the race lead and leads lap here at Iowa in the thick of the lap traffic. From here, it's now going to be about continuing those smart moves. What a heads-up call that was. He saw Tyler Graff checked up behind the pink and black machine up on the outside line. He didn't need to be asked twice. He went down low, he stuck his nose there, and now looks to put Matt Taylor 1 lap down.
Next level play there from Luis Gonzalez Nunez. That is exactly how you have to think about strategy in terms of where to put the car when you are driving on an oval, no matter what the size. I am very, very impressed here by the number 14 tonight.
It's what we want to see, is now he's the one that builds the separation. It's Cone and Graff, a 3 wide for a moment with Taylor up high. Cone thinks better of it. That is another bit of heads-up driving. O'Brien goes fastest now with a 22.36. The Toe is helping them wind up these lap times, albeit slightly. Graf goes defensive, gives dirty air to Mark Cohn. He's starting to feel the pressure. The pole man down to second, and now losing ground to your leader.
Well, and that's another heads-up play there from Tyler Graf, being able to give that dirty air to Mark Cohn. I wonder if he's been kind of keeping an eye there on how aggressive Cohn has been driving. Remember, we talked about that earlier, some of those very, very aggressive moves, and there we see it again. Running down on the low side, that's going to put a lot of abrasion on that right front tire. And I think Graf recognized that and wanted to give a little bit of how you doing there to Mark.
I think we expected this race to be mostly about the battle and strategy. We didn't think it would be a pass for the lead that might be the deciding moment of the race. Luis Gonzalez Nunez is making us eat those words. 62 laps, so we're through the fuel window for those that have not pitted. The 2 cautions will extend, but for how long they are due to pit road in just a few laps time. What a performance it's been, but still a long way to go. Movers and shakers left side of your screen. Jake Wright, of course, the biggest of them, plus 14. Richie Hearns also plus 7. It's Matt Taylor, the big loser, minus 19. And now 1 lap down, albeit on the contra strategy. We wait to see how the paths will sync up once we reach the checkered flag of this race. In your mind, is Mark Cohn in danger of being dropped by Luis Gonzalez Nunez here, TJ?
I think both he and Tyler are, with the pace that we've seen from Gonzalez Nunez just absolutely scything his way through the field. I would be a little bit concerned if I were Mark Cohn, and I maybe want to try to get a little bit more aggressive here, but I think the biggest problem, and you can see it right there coming out of the corner, just how much wheel Mark had to put into it. I think his tires are getting to the point where they're a little bit shot, and it's going to be a lot harder to control that car. It's going to be getting very, very tight, and I think the chances for him to get a move here on Tyler Graf coming down to slim to none.
The right front will be burning up. Remember the history of this race. Never as pole position one. Never as the driver that has led the most laps one. It's all been about those that can survive the scramble and put themselves in the right place at the right time. We're on course, at least for the time being, for 6 winners in 6 different races here at the fastest short track on the planet. Winding up towards the halfway mark of the race, the sun continues to set. The night lights are not yet the main focal point of the drivers. The last vestiges of orange still peeking up from over the horizon. And the gap for the race lead is now up and above a full second. It's not just the long run pace that Luis Gonzalez Nunez has, it's that traffic management as well. Still plenty of traffic to work their way through, especially if we go green from here to the end.
Yeah, but here's the one problem. On that charge on his way up through the field, he wasted a lot of fuel, and so he's now going to come down pit lane, the first of your leaders to do it. It looks like Tyler Graf's going to follow him in as well. That's not surprising considering just how much clean air he was running in.
Remember the other factoid about this race. The driver that leads the most laps never wins. For Graf, and for Nunez, the ones that have been leading the tango, is the undercut going to work out? With fresh tires, going to be important, but lap times dropping as the fuel empties from these cars. We know they become rocket ships. Up on the jacks, they'll go at the minimum a right front tire getting thrown onto that car. As much fuel they will want to work through the next stage of the race. Nunez off nice and comfortably in front of Tyler Graf. Let's not forget, no pit road limiter. It's all about executing. Ricky Harden almost overcommitting to pit road.
Yeah, very, very tricky, especially when you're coming in on such high speeds here on a tight oval. And the other thing to keep in mind here is it's a little bit of a unique pit entry. You have to commit coming in before turn 3. That has been a staple rule in the Lionheart series, in any of the series. And so that slows you down a lot more. You are not able to get a late commitment into the pits, and so that means your delta time coming in and out a lot later. Interesting there from Harden. I don't think he took a tire.
He did. It was the front car of the car that jacked up, which I thought was interesting. The rear not going up at all, so if they're taking the tire, it's the one and only tire that we thought they may need. race off a pit road. We'll see Luis Gonzalez Nunez jump in front of Mike Razmas, albeit by the slimmest of margins. Tyler Graft has been jumped by Razmas and Hardin. It's not the undercut to be worried about, it's the overcut to be worried about. Mark Cohn will come off a pit road, and from third, almost will steal first, will battle for second. Razmas to the outside.
Great strategy there from Mark Cohn. He's going to stick it down to that low line that we've seen him do multiple times, but momentum going to carry him around. He had to check himself up there. I've got to think that he was just a little bit squirrely coming off the corner, losing 3 positions as he ran.
Overcut maybe not working perfectly for Cohn, but it will be about the pit road time. He spent 36.2 from the entry of pit lane to the exit of pit lane. Luis Gonzalez Nunez 35.9 for Razmas and Hardin, despite the fact they spent just as much time in the box as those around them. 35.4, half a second gained just in pit road execution. Still waiting then for 7 to box. The 7 that came down in one of our 2 previous cautions. It's Gabe Wood that leads and puts Nunez and company in the danger zone.
Exactly, and this is the point of the race where these drivers that have already come down, they are praying, they are begging, they are hoping for a yellow flag to come out to be able to get them on the correct strategy. I've got to say, though, with as clean as we've seen this run up to this point, knock on wood, I think that they may be running out of luck here.
Gabe Wood leading, knock on wood. There's a pun in there somewhere. You're watching RaceSpot.tv and the start of the second half of the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. It's devolved into a strategy race here in Iowa. At the fastest short track on the planet, it's Gabe Wood that leads with still just under 100 laps to go. The race to the checkered flag coming up next on RaceSpot.tv.
With the Buttkicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Buttkicker, the future is feeling.
Welcome back to RaceSpot.tv and the second half for your 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. We've headed into the cornfields of Iowa for the HyperX Iowa 150 live for the Lionheart Retro Series and round number 10. Welcome back. After a quick commercial break, the pit stop flurries have opened once more as those that pitted under our second caution of the day fly down to pit road one more time. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined not by Ewan O'Leary, but DJ Clark. And DJ, Iowa is always fascinating. It's a race where we expect cautions. We've seen 2 so far. The reality is we could still see many more.
We very well could, especially as we continue to go on into the night here. As these conditions continue to change, it's going to take drivers a lap or two to maybe get used to things as tire temperatures start to vary a little bit, and as the track temperature continues to drop down. That could be what throws a driver just a little bit out of whack, loses that little bit of grip, and sends them, unfortunately, out into the safer barrier.
So Matt Taylor will roll. Interesting gamble for the number 8 to have pitted from second on track when no one around him committed to pit lane. I think it's fair to say it's not worked out the way that the MadWorks Motorsports number 8 would have been hoping that it would have. As we wait for Trevor Malone to come down to pit road this time by, it will promote Luis Gonzalez Nunez back into the lead of the race. Never has pole position converted to HyperX victory lane. Never has the driver that has led the most laps ever converted to HyperX victory lane. For Luis Gonzalez Nunez, he wants to break at least one of those records as he searches for first career victory across of the Lionheart Racing Series.
Yes, indeed, and he is putting on a clinic here at this point on just how to do it, being able to build that gap up to a full second here at this point as they run, and he is now back into the lead of the race. You see him losing a little bit of time there. That is courtesy of some lap traffic in front of him, namely in the form of Danny Roberts there with the damaged wing.
About a second back to Michael Rasmus, who has got Ricky Harden, Tyler Groff, Mark Cohn chasing him down. Michael O'Brien then sits in 6th position as he's clear. Craig Forsyth in the number 53 4D simracing machine. I tell you, what a good time it is then to bring up our Moser Racing driver profile. Craig Forsyth has had his health issues so far in 2022. Raced with hand controls for at least a couple of races. Might still be racing with hand controls. And while in his 23 career starts, he's only got 4 top 10s and 3 top 5s to his name. He is heading next time out to the track that he's seen the most success at. We go super speedway style racing at Michigan. Forsyth second in 2021.
In Michigan, such a tricky track to get right, not necessarily because of the difficulty to drive it necessarily, but because you just have to have so much situational awareness around you. You're often running 2, 3, even 4 wide around that place, and you've just got to be in constant tune with the cars around you. So being able to pick up a podium there is no easy feat.
At least if they're not 5 wide like they were at Motegi last year, we'll be okay. The reason I keep bringing up Motegi as we near our return to the unique oval there is I want our drivers to remember, DJ, what happened the last time that we were there, and to make sure they're a bit smarter this time around, because it was, if not the biggest wreck I've ever seen, one of the biggest wrecks that I've ever seen.
Yeah, and strangely last year it was one that I wasn't involved in, which was a real interesting feat last year, because I think I was involved in most of the bigger wrecks over the course of the season.
There is a wreck. It's fair to say DJ was not too far away from it, unfortunately. Lap 95 of 172, so give it about 15 laps or so. The window to get to the end of the race will open. All drivers will require that additional pit stop from this point forward. 30 took the green, 22 still out there on track. Only 19 left on the leading lap. Matt Taylor, Danny Roberts, Trevor Malone, the 3 that have yet to come down pit road. Still Craig Forsyth and Richie Hearn continue to dice it out. Richie Hearn with plenty of real-world experience when it comes to American open wheel racing. Never, at least at top-level competition, competed at Iowa. He knows all about these sort of tracks. He's committed down low. Behind them is Valiokas, quick in practice. Not so quick in qualifying, but he's inside of the top 10. What a drive it's been so far from the number 23.
Yes, it really has been, and I believe he's got the mark of our highest mover up to this point. Now senses a little bit of an opportunity, throws it down to the inside there of Richie Hearn. I love that side-by-side. You can really see the momentum that builds on that high line there in Arjuna. That is the difference between running those lines. Running down low, it's the shortest point from A to B, but you've got to lift off the throttle a lot more. You're able to run fuller throttle there up on that high line, carry more momentum, and if you time it just right, it'll keep you ahead by the time you get to that back straightaway.
Behind these guys, Robert Knight, Guyon, Lanini, Wood starting to close. Wood is doing quite well. although lost some ground to Valiokas on the pit stop strategy. Valiokas pitted 14 laps ago. He's done remarkably well, looking good with Craig Forsyth as well on slightly fresher stints as we work through the course of the race. Still the 70-23, trying to figure it out as they fight at the front of the field. Ricky Harden has lost, what, 1.3, 1.4 seconds to Mike Rasmus, who is trying to push forward. The championship leader, I think it's fair to say, faltered in the closing stages of 2021. Led the championship halfway through and then for a couple of races after that, but it was Matt Taylor and Aaron Morgan that stamped their authority on the season. This year, Rasmus has been impervious to pressure in some ways, DJ. What a run it was at Indy for him as well, winning not just comfortably, but by a margin. He was also the first to go twice to victory lane in 2022.
Yeah, certainly was, and it's really just a calm, cool, and collected run over the course of this season for Ricky Harden. It's been very, very good to see just what he is able to pull out here, and it's been impressive for sure.
It's all now just about the concentration and the utilization of the drop peaks as they come. We don't talk too much about that, but 18 rounds of the championships, you're allowed to drop the lowest 2 points scores. So if you miss 2 races, there are your drop weeks. It doesn't get any easier than that. It allows for flexibility over the course of a championship that runs from the start of March to the midway point of December. So drivers need to be keeping that in mind as we do get closer and closer to the end of the season, when our numerous awards, our championships, will very much start to play themselves out. And like Nunez was able to do to Tyler Graf in the late stage of the first into the race, Mike Rasmus has hunted down your race leader. The gap for the lead under 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, he's certainly starting to pull in a little bit more, and I think part of that is coming from some lap traffic that they've been encountering. Now, the good news here for Luis Gonzalez Nunez is the fact that he's got about 3 seconds, let's call it, up the road until he gets into the like of Paul Jenkins, David Sirois, and Mike Rigney. But for Rasmus, he's got to dispatch Matt Taylor before he's able to get there, so we're going to have to see what shakes itself out here. Only about 0.6 of a second separating those two. Definitely trying to close in and make sure that gap doesn't get too big again between himself and the leader.
This track is just under 0.9 miles, 0.875. It is all around banked in the corners between 12 to 14 degrees of progressive banking. 10 degrees of banking on the front straight, even this back straightaway, 4 degrees. There is no rest for the weary at this track, and not much opportunity if you're struggling to get a bit of a break. Enjoy a little bit of respite like you might at some of the road courses we've got coming up. For example, Twin Ring Motegi, a couple of long straights there. The Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, straight interrupted by chicanes. It's basically how that track is designed. And Richie Hearn will get in front of Craig Forsyth. Valiokas will try and go through down low as well. The 53 loses 2 spots in 2 laps.
Well, and that's so often what can happen here at Iowa, Arjuna. You get past there, you have to lift out of the throttle a little bit. That's going to jack up your momentum, and I think Forsyth might have gotten a little bit friendly there with the outside wall.
Power looks okay, at least on the right front of it, but he has lost a little bit of ground. Those are the scares that these long runs can sometimes lull you into. That would have woke Forsyth right up. Maybe a change of pants needed when we get to the end of this race. Daniels, Rodriguez, Rigney throw a blanket over the trio. 14th place, they fight 2 of these cars, maybe even 3 of these cars. It's fair to say you would not expect to be here. Rodriguez, the defending race winner. Rigney, a multi-time winner in the series. And Luke Daniels, who over the last couple of rounds has been starting to find his groove, starting to just survive and get to the checkered flag.
Yeah, indeed, but whoa, careful there, boys, as they think about going 3 wide there. And that is David Rodriguez, your defending race winner, looking very, very aggressive and really liking that super high lane, carrying that momentum. That's going to propel him by Luke Daniels right there. Now, as they go, Daniels is going to try to fight back a little bit, but I think this is position to Rodriguez.
For Luke Daniels, the highlight of the season is undoubtedly the pole position that he had for our buttkicker Indy 250, the second of the Triple Crown races. Had some good speed there as well. It wasn't just pace in qualifying, it was consistency over the long run, but involved in one of our many wrecks at Indy. finish down in 24th. Very much not the result that I think the speed would have warranted. It's all about bouncing back from those sort of disappointments, though. How do you put yourself in the positive mindset that winning sometimes requires? Razmas at the front had made up some ground, but is stuck behind Matt Taylor. You don't expect the number 8 to make the 68's life any easier than he has already.
No, I don't think you do, and at this point for Matt Taylor, he is just once again in that same position that we saw him before the previous round of pit stops. He wants to stay as far ahead in the field as possible in the hope that there will be a yellow in between the time that the leaders and that second group comes out. So he is under no obligation, nor is he under any necessity to get out of the way.
Moment there for Razmas, who had to breathe out of the throttle, coming off of the banking, almost ran himself into the wall. It's closed the gap to Ricky Harden. 3/10 split second and third. Tyler Groff half a second back in fourth as the pole man tries to get his way back onto the podium steps. 6 cars split by 3.5 seconds, and then a big 7-second deficit to Richie Hearn. As it stands right now, if we went green from here, even factoring in the strategy battles, it's hard to see this being anything other than a 6-way fight.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there. If we stay green, the only thing that's really going to throw a little bit of a lug wrench into all of that is going to be a yellow. Now, the crucial thing is because we are only about, let's call it 50 or so laps until the finish, if we do see a yellow at this point, drivers will be able to come on in and make it to the end of the race.
I think everyone pits if you have a caution at this point. Even the ones who pitted after the initial flurry are halfway through the run, 35 laps and counting, as Tyler Groff will come down and commit to pit entry. He will be the first to blink. We saw the undercut having mixed success. It didn't look as though one strategy was any better than the other. It's all about pit stop execution. Groff nice and tidy onto pit lane.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Arjuna. It is just about execution with the long pit entry here, like we talked about a little bit earlier. It is very, very important that you've got to nail it. Little bit of a problem there potentially for Luis Gonzalez-Nunez trying to get around Paul Jenkins and Luke Daniels right now. They're able to get through some of them okay, but that is a whole flock of lap cars that he's having to deal with.
He lost a good 2-3 tenths last time by. Loses more ground now as Razmas within 7 tenths for the first time in maybe 20-odd laps. At the line, the gap is 8 tenths. At least in lap times, the difference not borne out to Razmas, but 3 tenths slower than Mark Cohn was the number 14. Still checked up behind Paul Jenkins in the Aero X Elite West Racing number 35. Nunez will try and clear himself and almost spits himself up into the path of the number 35. Might be able to get it done through turns 1 and 2. A little too close for comfort in the race lead.
Very, very close there, and that is not what Luis Gonzalez-Nunez needed to see, and that indeed cost him a couple of tenths of a second back to Mike Rasmus. Now, Rasmus is going to have to be able to clear up through this traffic, but that is a very, very sketchy place to be able to be.
So there is Tyler Groff in the midst of some fighting behind him. He is 20th spot, the last car 1 lap down. Let's see what the fresh tires are going to be able to open up for him in terms of working through the field. Forsyth jumps in front of Valiokas. I would assume that Valiokas getting freight trained right now, not losing just 1, but losing 2, as Lanini will slide down his inside for 8th. Still a good run for the number 23, that RSR by buttkicker car, up 18 spots so far.
Yep, up 18 spots. That's a fantastic run there for Valiokas, really showing the speed that we expected to see from him earlier on this season, as now he brings it down pit lane.
Might not have that oval experience, but he's got a good teammate to learn from in the form of David Rodriguez. Again, nice and tidy to pit road. Maybe could have been a little bit more committed, but you don't want to make the mistake. That gives you the pit road speeding penalty. Valiokas learnt the hard way at Watkins Glen after putting it on pole position. Nunez will continue to lead, putting cars into the danger zone as one by one they trickle down to pit road. Nunez in this time around.
Yep, he called it out there coming out of turn 2, and your leader in the number 14 going to bring it down pit lane here. Looked very cautious coming into the lane, and that's exactly what I would be doing in this situation, Arjuna. Not trying to push too hard, but just keeping everything nice and under me.
How cruel would it be to lead all of these laps, to put in the performance like this at a track where it's notoriously difficult to pass? For the 14 team SimRace 24/7 car to end up anywhere other than HyperX victory lane. Good entry into the lane for the 14 as again up goes the front of the car, 7.4 seconds stationary, almost a full second quicker than Tyler Graf. Good signs then for him as Nunez will emerge on track and now has got to get focused. 3 seconds clear of Tyler Graf, a good cycle for the 14.
Very good cycle there for the 14. We're going to have to see, though, where the rest of that field comes out in relation to him and see if the likes of Ricky Harden or Mark Cohn or even this guy, Mike Rasmus, are able to get a little bit of a jump there on Luis Gonzalez Nunez.
O'Brien trying to work through some lap traffic. It's not as easy as you think. That gap between Nunez and Graf is closing, now under 1.4. Remember, if that right front is being changed, it might not be where it needs to be in terms of pressures, in terms of temperatures. It's a factor to be thinking about, that is for sure. Where is Nunez, where is Rasmus in comparison? Now Rasmus almost looks as though the rear of his car went up as well, but it's not a terribly long stop for him. It's 7.4. He's off of the lane in front of an RSR by buttkicker machine. Where is Luis Gonzalez Nunez?
It looks like Gonzalez Nunez is coming out of turn 2 right there. Did he lose time? Yes, he did. Rasmus up into the lead.
You can see, though, how slow Rasmus is as he builds that momentum up. The gap closes now to Nunez in the 14, who's got time to fight back to the front in terms of laps, but not on the clock with an estimated 13 minutes left to play in this HyperX Iowa 150. Ricky Harden, Michael O'Brien, the next cars to come onto pit road. Execution, execution, execution. It's so easy to say, it's so hard to do.
Yes, it very much is, and I can confirm there, Arjuna, that Rasmus took 4 tires. He took all 4 tires, at least there, well, at least 2. The rear end of the car getting up onto the jacks as well, so it could take here a couple of laps for those tires to really get into the maximum operating window, but he'll have more to fight with by the time this race is done and dusted.
And 7 days on from career victory number 1, Michael O'Brien is the net leader of the race once more. The overcut got him out in front of Mike Rasmus. Now we wait to see where Mark Cohn will feed out in the pit road extravaganza that is playing out at the fastest short track on the planet. There goes O'Brien on the runs through turns 1 and 2. Cohn into the box, nice and tidy. This is where the lead will be decided.
I don't think Cohn is taking tires. It doesn't look like Mark Cohn is taking tires, and he's long. He's long in the box.
Now, has he sped? Has Mark Cohn had a speeding penalty that will put to bed his chances of victory? My assumption is yes. We can confirm a penalty for speeding in pit lane. Mark Cohn makes the mistake no driver wants to make.
Oh, and I have been caught with that penalty.
Ricky Harden! Sorry to cut you off, TJ. I was sitting here blissfully thinking Michael O'Brien was on course for career victory number 2. But Ricky Harden, through the cycle of pit stops, is a full 2.5 seconds clear of the 45. Ricky Harden leads this race.
My goodness gracious, how did he pull that one off? A brilliant pit strategy there from Ricky Harden gets him out and into the lead of the race.
Execution, and I think just finding the right pockets of air. Ricky Harden has this race in the palm of his hands. He is the final car in the lead lap as Craig Forsyth will come down to pit road. If we stay green from here, it's going to be hard to displace Ricky Harden from taking career victory number 2 as he searches for the way into HyperX victory lane. Closing on 30 laps to go. Almost 5 cars left yet to come down to pit road.
Well, and Arjuna, look at that gap between Harden and O'Brien there. It's almost upwards of 2.5 seconds. Massive, massive stuff here for the number 7.
Traffic is really not being friendly to the New Zealander. This 45 car Both lanes in front of him blocked with nowhere to go. The 34 is down low. How do you navigate your way through this mess? Trevor Malone is on the same lap as O'Brien, but does require a pit stop to get to the end. My oh my, 30 to go. Ricky Harding continues to build up the gap. Danny Roberts will come down to pit road. O'Brien knows he's got to go.
Yes, he does. He has got to get very, very aggressive here. He dives down to the inside there of Trevor Malone, trying to get by it. But again, that high line looks like it's playing out, and it does look like Sirwa and Guyon there directly up ahead of him, making life very, very difficult, preventing any clean air, getting to the front nose of the number 45.
And Mark Cohn's speeding penalty drops him to 21st. He is back out on track trying to salvage a result in the 39 Avatar Order Racing with Graphics LC machine. Still Malone making life extremely difficult for Michael O'Brien as he'll look down low to try and work past one of your Raven Lavoie Motorsports machines. As they're tucked up on the high line, Malone unable to clear himself just yet. We wait for Gabe Wood, Mike Rigney, Matt Taylor, and Trevor Malone to come back down to pit road. It is stretched out behind them. Guyon and Sirwa will swap around as the teammates continue to bottleneck up Michael O'Brien. Still trying to get the purchase off a corner that he will need. The gap grows lap by lap. Ricky Harding now 3.3 seconds clear.
Remarkable stuff here from Hardin, and I think I heard Gabe Wood saying he was going to pull off and come down pit lane here any moment, so that's going to leave two drivers up at the front of the field who have yet to stop there. Whoa, that got a little bit hairy there as we watch O'Brien try to work his way on by Trevor Malone and the 08 there of David Sirwa.
It is starting to pick up, I tell you. I feel in the air there's a caution lurking around the corner. For Ricky Harding, it's not what he wants to hear. Gabe Wood will come down to pit road. Now just leaves Rigney and Taylor in front of Ricky Harding. 24 laps to go. Harding just has to stay out of the wall. It's as simple as that. No one else really has the speed right now to be able to close. Time lapse ticking down, running out for those behind. Across the line once more. Taylor to pit road. Harding now into second.
All right, so here we go, and then there were only a few left as we continue to tick down here. 23 laps to go there. As you said, Arjuna O'Brien trying to put everything that he has into this car to get himself forward, but he still has 3 bits of lap traffic between himself and your leader here of Ricky Harding.
He's finally done it, but now might, I think, be worried more about Razmas from behind. Start thinking about the points fight. Will Michael O'Brien jumped up in front of Matt Taylor in the point standings after the victory last time out. Now to close on David Sirwa, now to close on Mike Razmas in the 68. Rigney will enter onto the access road, enter down onto pit lane. Ricky Harding inherits the lead of the race with just 21 left to play. He's got to hold on. It would be a victory 672 days in the making. Harding takes the point once more.
Yes, he does. Up to the lead, and crucially, 4.5 seconds up the road from Michael O'Brien. That is absolutely crucial. O'Brien fighting tooth and nail to try to get by Jake Wright here at this point, and it just doesn't look like he's able to get it. Going to try to go to the inside there, but I think Wright's going to carry momentum on the outside.
It's up to 4.5. Continues to climb. 4/10, just the last time by. Mike Rigney emerges in 11th. The last car on the lead lap. Cole may be working out for him. He gained 8 places with the offset cycle. Very different story for Matt Taylor. Boxed 3 laps earlier than Rigney. He's lost 7 places from where he started. The call to box in the second caution of the day not being maybe the wisest call, but Taylor will get in front of Lanini. Now looks to try and close to Craig Forsyth. The best that Taylor can hope for. 7th here today.
Yeah, that's really it. Taylor just having a rough run courtesy of that early stop. But I've got to say, to be able to recover up to 7th there is a pretty good run, although he is fighting it out right now with Chris Lanini.
Yeah, it's not easy. Gabe Wood behind them. Rigney closing on slightly fresher tires than them, at least marginally. A fascinating race, that is for sure. The Last bits of orange still poking up from over the horizon, but it is the night lights that shine down now on Iowa. They shine bright on Ricky Harden. 17 to go. 6 winners in the first 9 races of the season. Only 2 becoming repeat winners in the form of course, Matt Taylor and Mike Rasmussen, 2 of your championship hopefuls. Only 1 double points race is left to go. It is our season finale, but you cannot discount anyone who is still in the mix for the championship. It's been a wild 2022 so far, DJ. We're not expecting the second half to be anything different.
No, I certainly think we're not, especially some of the wild cards that we get thrown up in the form of Montreal and Motegi GP like we talked about earlier. The return to the Motegi Oval is going to be absolutely fascinating. Michigan next week out. All of these tracks have the potential to throw up some real surprises here in West Arjuna and just make this all the more electric if that's even possible.
David Sirach continues to frustrate Michael O'Brien, but pinched down low might now give the opening for the 45 to go on path. Came into this race second in the championship. We know Sirach's strength on road courses. Definitely has found speed on ovals. Today has not been one of the easiest days by any means for the 19.9. Fighting now with Paul Jenkins for what is 14th position. Valiokas in front of them. Might be something that they're thinking about trying to get up towards in the closing stages of the race. In 5 previous years, only once has this race finished under caution. Only one other time has the margin of victory been greater than 1 second. Are we there? Are we at the moment for a caution to spoil the party, to make it a dramatic finish in this HyperX Iowa 150?
Who knows here, Arjuna? 12 laps to go. We talked about the changing conditions with things getting cooler and cooler. Thankfully, track temperatures have stayed relatively calm here at this point, but we never know what could happen, and there's still a battle on here for 4th place between Luis Gonzalez-Nunez and Richie Hearn.
And even if it's not the victory for Luis Gonzalez-Nunez, we've got to commend him for the pace. The history, the statistics were not on his side. The driver, the car that has led the most laps, never been the one that has walked away with the checkered flag. He had the dominant car in the middle part of the race. There is no disputing that. It's the call on strategy that might not have worked in his direction. There are plenty of positives, though, to be taken for Luis Gonzalez-Nunez as he revs himself up for the second half of this season. His average finish in the first 8 races that he's been part of in this competition, 23rd. This is the turning point.
Very much so, and it can take just one of these results to be able to go and get yourself onto a good run, especially with this being the halfway, over the halfway point in the season. I think this is a massive, massive new leaf for Luis Gonzalez-Nunez. Fantastic.
I want to throw you under the bus and ask what happened to you after your turning point of a finish at the start of the season, but I feel like I've already said enough and I already feel very, very bad. But the reality is, even with a stacked rookie class, this competition has never been higher. It seems year on year, this Lotus 79 intrigues its drivers in a different way to the IR18 or the DW12 that the IndyCar and the Speedway Series challenge their drivers. It's a driver's car, and that's why these drivers are out there on track enjoying this experience, and ultimately the fact that the championship is split by just 20 points halfway through says it all. Last year it finished dead heat on points, went to count back, confused us all, that is for sure. 5 laps to go. Mike Rigney's day will come to an end, but Ricky Harding continues to shine bright. 5 to go for your race leader.
Yes, indeed. With a 4.5-second advantage here as he comes up behind some more of these lapped cars. He doesn't need to push too hard to get around him, and rest assured, Ricky will know that. He is just going to be keeping calm here and keeping collected and not pushing that number 7 outside of his bounds. I wouldn't, frankly, be surprised if he just chooses to hold back here for the next 3 laps and lets those lap cars run ahead of him.
Let's pick up a look at what happened to Mike Rigney, how his race has come to an end, and you'll just see it's a lazy slide up into the wall out of turn 4 and in front of Michael O'Brien as well. Yellow flag! Now, is the race over? Has Ricky Harding won? Because with 3 laps to go, the caution is out. Matt Taylor is on pit lane. I'm not sure if that's related, but my word, what a finish to this race.
What a finish indeed, and yes, this is going to be it. They're going to pick up the white flag next time by. This is it. Ricky Harden has won it.
672 days in the making. It's not how Ricky Harden would have wanted to win. He wanted the 5+ second margin. No matter how it comes, though, victory is victory. Ricky Harden will walk away the winner of the HyperX Iowa 150. I don't even know what brought out the caution.
I'm not entirely sure either there. I heard some chatter over the radio talking about it, but I don't know what exactly brought it out here, Arjuna.
We'll see if we can get word from pit lane as to why the caution is flown. I am honestly completely befuddled and lost for words. The yellow flag exchanged for a white now is across the line. 1 lap to go. It will be at a slow, dull trot for these Lotus 79s. Now, the only thing that we can think and postulate that it might be is Matt Taylor making a mistake on pit road entry. But for that to be the deciding caution that finished this race off, I'd be shocked.
I would be as well. That doesn't look like necessarily what it was. This one may just be a question mark that we never get an answer to.
It's the type of questions that we don't like to have, but for the second time in the 6 races of the Lionheart Retro Series here in the cornfields of Iowa, this race ends under caution. Lots of questions to be answered about why we finished the way that we did, but one thing is not there to be decided. Ricky Harden, 672 days after a victory at Michigan, wins for the second time in his Lionheart Retro Series career. He wins your HyperX Iowa 150. A dominant drive at the end of the race, conquering the fuel window. Ricky Harden, a winner once more.
A great run here for Ricky. That really being decided on some brilliant pit strategy there. A little bit of a friendly bump there from behind. Everybody on the radio is very happy for Ricky here at this point to be able to get this second career victory.
And Michael O'Brien, after the win 7 days ago, continues the momentum, second on the track. I see some questioning the incident that we saw with Mike Rigney. That was not the cause of the caution. That happened a good 30+ seconds, maybe even a full minute before the caution flew. We will try and figure this out. One thing that doesn't need to be figured out is who's going to HyperX victory lane, who's doing some donuts here on the front straight of the Iowa Speedway as Ricky Harden celebrates the winner of the HyperX Iowa 150. Confusion up here in the booth, but jubilation for the number 7. An average finish coming into this race of 12th. But the victory will get good points on the board, momentum on the side of Ricky Harden to kick off the back half of the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. What a race it was as the Polish victory laps go on. Let's not dally around, let's run you down through our SimRace 24/7 unofficial race results. Ricky Harden, 1.7 clear in a caution-ended race of Michael O'Brien in the MadWorks Motorsports at number 45. Mike Rasmussen will come across the line on the podium, building up more and more confidence and momentum for the championship leader. A great day for Luis Gonzalez Nunez. He finishes in front of Richie Hearn for top 5 finishes for the both of them. Tyler Graf from pole position down to 6th, but the pace was there in qualifying. What was missing in the race? That's what Tyler will figure out before we go in 7 days' time. Gabriel Wood, Craig Forsyth, Chris Lanini, and defending race winner David Rodriguez complete the top 10. Behind them, Marius Valiokas, Jake Wright, David Sirwa, Alex Guyon, Luke Daniels, Paul Jenkins, and Danny Roberts. The field of cars 1 lap down, 2 laps down. Trevor Malone, Mark Cohn, and Matt Taylor through the top 20. Mike Rigney, our final car, I want to say finishing, but at least involved in an incident to the closing stages. Robert Mike, Brett Accord, and Cody Wenzen. The first of our entries in the retirees with Rodrigo Munoz, Chris Fowler, Jim Herrick, Hugo Gallus, Cristobal Valenzuela, and Chris Staples. The top 30. What a day it was. Attrition played its factor. The best rose to the top. Ricky Harden wins after 150 miles of tough racing. That leads us then into our Lionheart HyperX post-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. And waiting for us, jubilant in HyperX victory lane, let's bring into the booth Ricky Hardin, who is just getting the technical issues worked out right now. Ricky, do we have a copy?
Yes, sir. Sure do.
You sound like you're a happy man. It's been a couple of years since your last victory at Michigan. A rather chaotic way to finish the race, but you were dominant in the closing stages. The strategy worked a treat.
Absolutely, 100%. And really, I mean, we practiced it last night. Shared it with the rest of the Raven guys that were here, which was just the Lavoie guys, and it worked perfectly. We just took a tire on that first stop, didn't take it on the second, short fueled it on the second, and I guess some other guys had problems on pit road, so that contributed to helping us out. But man, it feels good to finally get back in victory lane after that drought last year. I thought maybe we had our best shot at Michigan and California coming up, but I'll take it here.
You came into this race just over 100 points off of the championship leader. And yes, Mike Rasmus has finished in third, continued to build up good points, but halfway through the season, you can never say someone is out of the championship picture. Recap the first half of the season for us. Talk to us about what the second half needs to bring for you to be in the championship fight.
Well, I mean, we need a lot more runs like this. Missed the race at the Hungaroring, and that set us back a little bit, but honestly, I don't think that would have been one of my best tracks. The road courses are always pretty mediocre for me, so I don't look for good runs there, but I need to get out of all of them with solid top 10 finishes. And then when we go to the ovals, I need wins, and then I think we can close that gap. But Mike Rasmus is a tough customer. I mean, that guy is always up front, whether it's a road course or an oval. He's really good.
So I'm going to say we had 2 cautions today, because I'm not counting the third caution that we had at the very end. Is it a surprise when you get the fast cautions at the start of the race, but then you get the long green flag run all the way to the end? How does that play into the mindset when you're thinking about strategy?
Honestly, I was surprised that we had the early cautions. The way that the race, the practices had gone, and the way that the car was driving, I didn't expect a lot of cautions. It didn't really change my strategy. I was surprised when Matt Taylor hit pit road on that second caution. I said, I guess he's hoping to trap everybody laps down if it comes down to, a caution, a well-timed caution for him. But the odds of that are not good. And not only that, you're back in that traffic, and it's just awful back there.
About 672 days since that win at Michigan. You're a winner once more. Congratulations, Ricky. Enjoy this one. What a great race it was.
Woo, I will. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate everything you do.
And Ricky will be looking to go for win number 3 at Michigan in just 7 days' time. Well, a winner 7 days ago, Michael O'Brien, backs up that performance, this time on an oval. Michael, a good race from you. At one point, I thought you were the net race leader. That final call and the final cycle of pit stops just not working in your favor, but what a good race it was for you.
Oh, man. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very happy with the P2. I come into these oval races just aiming for a top 5, really, and yeah, this is awesome. Really, congrats to Ricky. He just played that right. He got through traffic well. He kept his tyres well. Just couldn't catch him.
It did look like he was struggling a bit in the first couple of runs of the race, interrupted by cautions. Were you tempted at all to follow your teammate Matt Taylor down to pit road? Because I think we were surprised to see him go. Did you ever think that maybe banking on another caution was the call to take you to the end?
Yeah, my early run pace was really bad. I'm not really sure why, but he came back at the end. Yeah, Matt went big on his strategy. Really, he needed a caution. If he got a caution, I think he very well could have won this race. He's been really good on his tyres, but didn't go that way for him, unfortunately.
Another oval coming up. We go to Michigan in 7 days' time. Back-to-back races are always good, but there's no more of a contrast than the short track of Iowa to the speedway-style racing of Michigan. How comfortable are you in the more packed sort of races that we have?
I don't mind them too. I know a lot of guys don't really enjoy them very much. I don't mind them too much. They're bad because it's always just a roll of the dice sometimes, but yeah, it sort of brings the fast guys towards me, so I like that.
We'll see how Michigan plays out then for that 45 car. Congratulations, Michael. More good podiums on the board for you here today.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Michael O'Brien, what a drive it was a week ago. Second here today, but not gaining as much ground on the championship leader of Mike Rasmus as he would have wanted to. Rasmus brings up the tail end of the podium. Great day for you, Mike. Inside of the top 6 in qualifying, worked your way forward. Talk to us about your race. Talk to us about how it went.
Yeah, it was all about qualifying, and I didn't have a lap. I didn't practice too much qualifying, so I kind of expected to start near the back and kind of ride around, but just surprised myself with that qualifying lap. Yeah, the end, I don't know, strategy was difficult to decide on which tires to take, how many tires. I guess I took, what did I take? Fronts the first stop, and I think the second stop I took all 4, and it was too many tires because I came out of the pits and it felt like the car was broken. It was so slow. I think if I had taken 2, I may have gotten to stay ahead of Michael there, maybe held on, but I'm not sure. And I was also saving fuel at the end. The whole last run, I just took the bare minimum amount of fuel, and it's weird because, like, you know, if I hadn't done that, I think maybe Luis and some of them may have gotten by me out of the pits with the extra time in the pits. So I'm just not sure how my fuel strategy ended up with a 3rd place, but I'm happy about it. Definitely happy with that. And it's been a great team race, this race, with I think we got Chris and Tyler up in the top 10 as well.
As you look forward to Michigan in a week's time, how is your mindset as the championship leader? Are you feeling like you want to be aggressive at a race that's prone for chaos? Are you thinking more about being reserves, laying back and picking up the pieces once they all fall as in front of you? What's the mindset? How are you feeling about the championship?
Yeah, all season I've thought of myself as being a little bit more aggressive than I was last season, and I'm still pretty reserved, I think, if you compare my style with some of the other drivers. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it doesn't work out. Lately it's been going pretty well, so I think I'm going to keep going with my current philosophy, and which is mostly, you know, just have fun, and I kind of like messing around with strategy. Matt Taylor really surprised me tonight with his strategy call, and I think if it was the right circumstances, he could have came out on top there. So kind of bummed for him with that strategy, but yeah, we're just gonna try to have fun at Michigan.
He's having fun, and he's having fun on top of the championship. Congratulations on the podium, Mike. We'll see you at Michigan in a week's time.
Thank you.
Always good to talk to our podium after the race to get their thoughts, to get the insight behind the helmet as drivers wind themselves up for the second half of the season. Racing into the night lights, it was the chaos at the end of the race that we'll be talking about for a while. Ricky Harden, a very, very deserving winner. But DJ Clark, next time out, it couldn't get more different. Yes, we're still turning left, but we go to Michigan. We go to the high banks of the Michigan International Speedway, a track fraught with danger, a track that will promote exciting racing for all to see.
It most certainly will, Arjuna. We talked about 3, maybe even 4 wide. It's going to be a pack race, which is a different style of racing entirely. Requires a lot of patience, a lot of commitment if you want to get that move done, and most of all, it requires a steady hand on the wheel. You don't want to be too aggressive making moves around there.
And we might still be talking about the tire strategy in a week's time on August 4th as we kick off the month of August and a couple of very important races. 3 weeks of back-to-back racing then start to splinter up as drivers focus in on the run to the end of the championship. Here's a look at that next level racing schedule. A couple of weeks off before we head to the streets of Long Beach, then over to the land of the rising sun and a doubleheader at Twin Ring Motegi. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve will greet us in the 3rd week of October before a trip down to the Worldwide Technology Raceway in the shadow of the Gateway Arch, and then November 10th, a trip to America's National Park of Speed. There aren't many better tracks in the world, but that's a full month separated from our season finale. DJ, when you looked at these gaps last year, what went through your minds as you focused race by race?
Well, as you start to look to these gaps, you frankly want the gaps to shrink down a little bit. You want to get into that rhythm and being able to constantly be on it. I think when you get in some of those long breaks, you can lose a little bit of focus, Arjuna, sometimes. And so we're going to have to see how that affects these drivers.
For some, they compete across of the suite of Lionheart competitions. For others, it is going to be important to stay on hand with the task at hand. But before we say goodbye, we need to thank those that make all of this possible, starting with the title sponsor of the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. Next Level Racing is an industry-leading cockpit and motion simulator manufacturer devoted to creating the most immersive experience possible for the global sim racing community. Take your racing to the next level and visit nextlevelracing.com. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com.
Also want to thank Buttkicker. You're passionate about sim racing, but it always feels a little flat compared to the feeling of driving a real car. Now you can feel what it's actually like to drive a race car. Buttkicker haptic hardware and software are easy to install and lets you feel every bump in the track, slip of your tire, and engine redline. The tactile feedback is so accurate and realistic, you'll be driving faster and having more fun than ever before.
Moser Racing is revolutionizing sim racing with the development of industry-leading hardware and software products like their R9 direct drive wheelbase and GS steering wheel. Featuring zero-delay wireless technology and made from high-end materials, Moser Racing delivers the precision you need to reach victory lane.
Finally, Gomez Sim Industries are makers of high-end esports equipment and controls. Precision built using nothing but the best materials available today, passion and handmade craftsmanship drive each made-to-order, creating a driving experience like no other. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com.
And it's not just them, but so many more that make this happen. To learn more about the partners of the Lionheart Racing Series, or to find out more about the 3 competitions the sanctioning body puts on, head over to LionheartRacingSeries.com or go to social media to stay connected with everything going on inside of the virtual paddock. What a run it's been. The run will continue. 3 back-to-back weeks of racing action will see the Lionheart Retro Series and its Lotus 79s head to the rolling hills of Michigan in 7 days' time. Today, Ricky Hardin stamps his name into the history books once more as a winner. The doubleheader of Iowa has presented challenges and chaos to the drivers across of the Lionheart Racing Series. Yesterday, the IR18s and the Indy cars took to Iowa. Chaos descended. The big one ensued. Today, as the Retro Series got underway with the HyperX Iowa 150, 2 early cautions stagnated the momentum in the early stages. Ricky Hardin stood tall to be counted under the bright night lights. We'll see you in a week's time for our next race in this Lionheart Retro Series, the Gomez Sim Industries Michigan 200, presented by Buttkicker. On behalf of everyone at racespottv and for my co-commentator in the returning DJ Clark, my name is Arjuna Kankipati, bidding you farewell for now, but we'll be back from Michigan in 7 days' time. We bid you farewell. We congratulate Mike Razmas. We'll see you next time on RaceSpot TV for the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series.